It was time to tackle the ivy again, the remaining ivy that was perched around the chimney stack, right at the top of the roof. And when I'd cut the lower sections, there's a big chunk of it that just wouldn't budge, and I couldn't work out why until I sort of got a bit closer to it and realised there are two large metal straps going all the way around the chimney stack, which currently hold the TV aerial in place. TV aerials, huh? Who'd have thought in this day and age? But yes, and the ivy had worked its way in and out of these two bands, which meant that no amount of tugging or pulling was going to get the ivy off without bringing the chimney stack down with it, which obviously I didn't want to be doing. So I decided to put up the trestles that I've made that are already in the loft, and that would give me the sufficient height with the telescopic ladder also to remove the remaining tiles that are on the top there, that abut the chimney stack, and with that then I could then attack the ivy. So I merrily cleared away, and what I'm doing at the moment now is, as I'm taking the tiles off, I'm sort of scraping them clean. I use one tile against the other, just to take off the moss or whatever. There's a little bit of efflorescence as well on the tops of these tiles. Efflorescence is, I think that's the salt coming out of the clay. It's like a white powdery substance. I think when you have a lot of moisture in that around, you tend to find that efflorescence will rear its ugly head. You see it on brick walls and all sorts, and it's not harmful. It's just the salt showing itself. So I just use one tile, like I say, one tile against the other, scrape one by one hand, and then turn them over and scrape the other, and then stack them. And that way, then when it comes to laying them, I won't be having to redo all that again. They'll all be ready to rock and roll. So I've decided to move the telescopic ladder around, and then I put a couple of brackets on the trestles so that the ladder won't move. So it's fairly firm, and then I can get to grips with my trusty jacksaw and start hacking away at this damned ivy. I had lots and lots of comments on people that had similar problems with ivy. Obviously, it's very, very invasive. It does a heck of a lot of damage to trees and stuff. It's always amazed me when you see trees absolutely caked in ivy, because ultimately it'll kill the tree off over a period of time. And here it had just had years and years and years, or if not decades, to grow up the walls, grow into the walls, grow into the roof, grow into the roof space, grow around the chimney stack, grow inside the chimney pot at the top of the chimney stack. The chimney's not been seen, I don't think, in many a year, thanks to the ivy. So it was time. It had to go. It had to go. And thankfully, I could get close enough with the saw. I could just keep working my way around either side of the metal bands so that I can slowly dislodge the ivy and get it off. So it's nice to see it. Nice to see it more or less all gone now. There's only one or two smallish bits on the front section of the roof. I mean, it's dead, but it's sort of still laying in place. So once I come to start the front section of the roof, I'll be able to get that last bit off there as well. So it's also nice that I'm getting up to height. Yeah, I'm almost at topping out height, which is a tradition in the UK. I don't know if they do the same thing in Europe or in Australia or the United States. But ordinarily, once you get to the highest point that you're going to be at a building, you have a little topping out ceremony. Normally, you have a little whatever, depends who your company is. You might have a glass of sparkling wine or champagne, or you might have a beer, or you might just have a cup of coffee. It's just you're just saying, well, hey, that's it. This is as high as it's going to go, and it's something that's been done for donkey's years, I think, in the UK. That'd be interesting to hear whether it is actually done in other countries or not, or whether it's just the UK that does it. I tried to explain it to a French person there, and he had no idea what I was talking about. So maybe they don't do it in France, or maybe I just didn't explain myself well enough. But anyway, that's that. So yeah, taking the ivy off, and then as you look around, you can see there's still black and great trees either side of the property. They'll be coming down as well at some stage. Um, the roof obviously is a priority. If I can get the roof watertight, it'll be joy upon joy, because there were so many holes in this roof. It was unbelievable, and there were so many knackered tiles where the tiles have just been damaged by either the frost or just like I say, as I often say, they've just been butted in too close together, and they've snapped. So I'm working my way through all the old tiles, and we'll see at the end how many I'm going to be short. Um, because there's 4 Veluxes going in on this rear roof, that's actually saving me somewhere in the range of about in the regions of, I suppose, 350 tiles. So I can afford to lose 350 dodgy tiles before it becomes critical. And then it would be a question of looking on a site such as Le Bon Coin, in the local area, for people that are selling old tiles where they've had the tiles, their roofs redone. Typically, you can pick up these tiles for around about 20 to 30 centime, which is going to be what, about 20 pence, 25 pence. I don't know what that would be in dollars, but it's not a great deal of money, really. If I end up having to buy a couple of hundred, there's no great shakes, is it? But it'll be nice to see. It'll be nice to know that all the tiles that are on there are in good nick, and that if there are any further problems, well, there shouldn't be any further problems in real terms with it once it's in place. It should have a long life ahead of it, and that will help to keep the house dry, especially with this breathable membrane now. So another big chunk of ivy's gone, and we can actually see a chimney pot just by my head there, and part of the chimney stack at the top. First time it's been seen in years, so we can all celebrate that. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, so tiles. So it'd be nice to see. It'd be nice to know that the roof's been done, and that it is. It's obviously it's going to outlive me now, without a doubt. Hopefully, it'll outlive my kids as well. Um, Considering that the house, I think, is around about 150 years old. The reason I'm saying that is there's a house just by it, just across the way from it, and somebody's inscribed at the top of there 1881, and it's got the same style of roof. And I'd imagine that they didn't just build one house there in 1881, they were probably building all these little houses. My house had stables attached to it, which is now the barn. So I'm assuming that this house is dating to around about 1880 or just after that. The records in France are a bit sketchy for anything pre 1920s. I don't know why that is, but particularly in rural areas. So they often say once they get to a property like this, it'll just say pre 1920 rather than giving it a specific date of construction. Maybe they just weren't too fussed about keeping records in rural areas back in the day. But it's quite a vibrant little town, considering there's only about 250 people that live in there. There's always somebody sort of wandering around. There's always somebody who stops for a chat, says hello. I had a lady just out of the blue. I could hear someone saying, "Do you quelqu'un? Il quelqu'un?" Which means, is there anybody there? And I said yes. And she said, "Oh, I don't remember what she said her name was now." She said, I live in the village there. I bought the old station house. Would you like to come for an apéro? Just out of the blue. An apéro is a big thing in France, normally around about 7 o'clock in the evening. You have drinks and like I drink and a couple of snacks. It does normally last longer than about half an hour. It's not like it's not like you're there for the evening. But it's a big thing in France where they have apéros. It's just a nice way of spending half an hour with friends or neighbours or whatever. And it's nice that everybody knows there's sort of a time limit to it. So you come, you have a bit of a drink, you have a bit of a chat, and then you bugger off. And after about half an hour or so everybody's happy. Everybody's kept happy about that. So yeah, so she turned up and offered me an apéro, which I politely refused because I need to spend every minute that I can. I spend 5 days a week here now doing the renovation. I need to maximise that time. So normally I start at 8 o'clock in the morning and I generally finish around about 7 o'clock in the evening, which gives me enough time to get to the local stores before they shut just to buy something to eat. Normally I eat sandwiches throughout the week, a sandwich for lunch and a sandwich for dinner and maybe a glass of wine. Because I'm not an overly fussy eater, to be honest with you. I'll eat anything. So, and there you go. There's me with my little topping out picture. Me proudly aside the chimney stack, which looks like it's got a flower arrangement in it, which is actually the ivy that somehow worked its way into there. The ivy's more or less gone, and then I later on I sort of climbed up a little bit further and plucked out what was in the chimney stack. So it's all nice and clear now. And then there's another one of me, another selfie, topping out height, and that's looking down towards my barn and the fields beyond, which are currently up for sale apparently at the moment. That's another neighbour that came in yesterday or the day before and said he was selling the land and he wants to sell his part of the barn that adjoins mine and was interested, and we're still waiting to hear the price of it, so we'll wait and see. But maybe that might be. It's not too much money. It might be worth having. His father redid it all, so there's nothing really much to do there. Unlike mine, where I'm going to have to redo the roof and a bit like I'm doing on the house here. But that's for another day. So where are we at? So we've got the ivies off. I'm getting it tidied up a little bit, making sure that more or less everything's left. There's one ridge tile that got left, just is tucked in against the chimney stack there, and I will deal with that once I lay the roof, start retiling the roof. So it's not critical, so it's keeping the rain out at least. And then shortly, I think we'll see the aftermath of what went on with where the ivy's on the floor outside on the big wall. I've obviously descended the ladder to do whatever I'm doing now. I've no idea what I'm doing at this moment, but I'm obviously doing something within the loft. Maybe I've been stacking up the tiles that I've been putting down on the trestles. I'll then clean them up and I'll stack them inside the loft, and then I can pass them through the Velux openings when it comes to it to get back onto the roof. So it's all a bit higgledy-piggledy because there's only me working on here. I haven't got any labourers or anything, so I have to just do whatever I need to do, and things take time. But we're into the second week. I'm very, very happy with the progress I've made. I've allowed myself 3 weeks to finish this rear roof. That won't include the ridge tiles because the ridge tiles have to go on once the front roof has been put into place, and then I can put the ridge tiles, can cement the ridge tiles back in. The ridge tiles, there's around about 4 of them that have been damaged, so that's 4 I'll definitely be picking up from Le Bon Coin. I'll probably end up buying 5 or 6 or 7 just to be on the safe side, and I'll do a video on the state of the ridge tiles and the cleaning up process and everything else. So stay tuned. It's all exciting stuff here on Renovation by Old Man. So where are we at? So I'm trying to strip back the roof to around about 4 meters in length, just because that's the length of my batten, which makes it much easier if you not having to keep cutting down batten here, there, and everywhere. If you can just lay it as it is in full sections. And I had a bit of a counter, and I think I'll just about make it with a batten. We're working out that I bought 130 sections, knowing I was going to rip them in two to make 260 sections. And I think I've got left 5 packs, which would be 50, which would give me 100 sections left, 100 pieces of batten left to do the front. And the front to run about 50 in sections, 50 sections of batten running right from bottom to top. So the 100 should just get me there, as long as there's nothing untoward that I come across in the meantime. Or worst ways, I do have some rafters left over, and worst ways, they're 4 meters as well. So all I would end up doing is ripping down the rafters to make the chevrons. So it's handy if you've got bigger bits of timber that you can cut down. Obviously, if you only got little bits of timber and you need more rafters, you've got big problems, because you can't glue a load of batten together. Anyway, here we are. Here's the aftermath of the ivy coming down. Sadly, the garden hostess trolley took one for the team. Had a load of stuff landed on it, tiles and ivy, and it cracked one of the wheels. So I don't know what I'll be doing with the hostess trolley in the garden this summer. I'll have to try and do some sort of repair on it. Well done, that trolley. And then this is just it's just everywhere. And I'll probably have a little bit of a burn up of the ivy. Give it a week or two just to dry off, and then have a little fire, because we men like fires. But look at that! I can see the chimney stack. I can see the chimney pot. There's very little ivy left standing, which is good. And at a later stage, we will look at sorting out the walling as well, and obviously replacing that door with a window. Anyway, as ever, thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.